awesome to be here. I think every year at this day, I look out here and it's pretty remarkable to have so many people cover and care about a college baseball program, and it's not something that I take for granted or take lightly. I think it makes it the best place in the country to coach, but obviously to play, and no different than any other year. I think we got really good players that are really good people that are worthy of that coverage. So thank you for being here. Obviously, we've documented and talked about last year in 2025 national championship team a lot. Team that'll go down as a forever, type team, and very eager and excited to talk about 2026 and this group of players. Off to a good start, really good fall, excelled in a number of areas in the classroom. Again, another LSU record for GPA, highest GPA in LSU baseball history. Excellent work by the players there. Good work by the staff. Full speed ahead. Very fortunate we were able to keep a couple of them that had other opportunities that decided to stay here over the offseason, and I'm very grateful and thankful for them and their work. And like I said, everybody ready to turn the page, and teams worked very hard on that. Had a good fall practice, good winter break as far as guys doing what they need to do, and off to a good start here with training, scrimmages, kind of how this will go. Some adjustments this weekend for the weather. We'll scrimmage today, extend that, and then we will not play the next couple days because of weather. And then over the next 2 weeks, we'll probably play 8 full scrimmages from this point forward, and then a couple smaller simulated games to get ourselves ready to go. And thinking about this year and this team, and setting a course for it, I think it's really important. We'll always appreciate what we did last year, but to move on to this year and be all in on right now, I think we have set a good blueprint of what it's going to take to be successful, and those things aren't really that much different. But the jungle that we play in, which is the best conference in any sport across the country, requires your absolute best. It requires you to do the things that you need to do to be the most prepared team on game day, and we really have to respect and honor that, hold ourselves to an incredibly high standard in terms of that preparation, in terms of accountability, coach to player, player to coach, player to player. And I think we have a group eager to do that because you have a number of guys that have experienced the very top of success, both with their individual performances and as the highest level of team success. Having 19 returning players from last year is a good benefit. And then, kind of a hallmark or staple of what we do here is always placing, LSU, the team and the program above individual needs, coach to player, player to coach. And I feel like we have a group that understands the importance of that. And by doing those 3 things of honoring the process, holding a really high standard, and team over me, I think we have the right blueprint. And then it comes down to playing good baseball. And we'll put 1,000%, effort into that, to do that, to make each player the best that they can be and the team the best that it can be. We're really excited about what's ahead, really excited about our non-conference schedule, playing some great opponents, that will challenge us early in the season within games and within stretches, and then obviously a really good SEC schedule where over those 10 weekends you're playing 10 teams that are capable of going to the College World Series. So it demands your absolute best. And so excited to get going, and definitely ready to roll.
Jay, you come off of a national championship and then had the next year. Now you have another national championship. What did you learn from the year after the national championship the first time to maybe apply those lessons to this year's team?
I've been asked that a lot, and I don't think either situation is really comparable. And what I mean by that is, after the 23 national championship, we set a record for the best baseball league in the country of sending players to pro baseball, and it was a very new team. And there was going to be some inevitable growing pains with that we did endure. And I think by understanding that, maybe that might be of small help, but nobody was really a part of that. There's, I think, 3 players, with Gavin Guidry, Jaden Newton, DJ Primo, have been a part of both championships and went through that. I think the valuable lesson is probably the guys that came in that season. You talk about a Jake Brown, a Steven Milam, and then have been part of both of the last 2 teams, that they can draw from those experiences. And I've seen them do that really, really well and evolve as leaders. And Jake, exceptional leadership skills. Exceptional leadership skills. I'm sure you'll talk to him today. And then watching Steven really grow as a player, like a player I wouldn't trade for any shortstop in the country in terms of what he brings just as a baseball player, but how much connection our team has appeared to have with some new pieces, on defense because of him being the shortstop has been fun to watch. And so I don't know that I can go back to 2024 and go, hey, I picked up a bunch that is super beneficial for this group, because you're resetting the team and you're resetting the culture. And if you're all in on now in 2026, 2025 is completely irrelevant. And that goes for the coaching staff too.
Between Derek, Jake, and Chris, has the chemistry and the communication changed there at all with the little shakeup of having Derek in center field defensively? Is there anything different between those guys and how they sort of working together?
Yeah, I think we have 3 center fielders in the outfield, and it's pretty cool that all 3 of them have already played center field here at LSU. What a great thing to have those guys. So I don't expect and haven't seen any struggle with that, because their baseball ability, all of their experience. And you talk about winning type players, and this concept we talk a lot about is, there's guys that have talent, and there's guys that have skills that show up on game day to really help you perform and win on both sides of the ball. And those 3 are at the top of it. I talked a lot about, last year's team being a team you could coach forever. Like, those 3 guys were a big part of that, very Jay Johnson type players, if you will, or winning type players. And they're doing great. And I think all 3 of them are better today than they've ever been at any point in their career.
Hey, Coach, back right. Y'all added Justin Bridgman this year as the Director of Player Development for Defense. That was obviously a big part of y'all's run of the championship last year, was solid defense. What are you hoping he brings to the team?
Yeah, hiring Justin was a luxury. Honestly, very thankful. He is a phenomenal human being, first of all. He's played for me, and I think he's actually the first player like that I've hired in a real kind of direct role that's been a player for me. He's had great experience, being at Tulane the last 3 years. He coached for Larry Lee at Cal Poly. He was with us at Arizona for a very short time in a smaller role. I think it was the COVID year, so we only played like 15 games, but terrific baseball guy, really knows the game, knows the expectations, has been a part of, a really successful team of ours at Nevada. We won a championship that season, understands how I can, communicate and operate, and then really help some young players that haven't been a part of it, understand that. And then, knows how we see the game and relative to what winning baseball looks like, and has a lot to offer, and like I said, he's been in 2 really good programs since then, and so has brought some new things back, did a great job, self-made professional baseball player, and I like having guys of good character around our people, or our players that are smart baseball people too. So he provides a lot, and I'm really happy we have him here this year.
Jay, back here, a guy like Casan Evans, how much do you think last year's experience for him pitching in Omaha the way he did, being on that stage, how much do you think that could help him kind of prepare for the 2026 season and take the next step in his game?
Yeah, I think there's something about, getting to the College World Series that and competing in it, and he did obviously at the highest level. He closed out game 1 against Arkansas Arkansas, which was probably the best team in the country last year. And then immediately 2 days later, or 3 days later, with the rain out, coming in and giving us 4 2/3 against a really good UCLA team. He was up in the bullpen in the 9th inning, with a 2-run lead and the tying run at the plate, maybe a hitter or two away from coming in the game to close it out to win the national championship. So I think all those experiences can help. I think for him, I would say it wouldn't matter though, because you know what you're getting as a competitor every time the guy takes the mound. I mean, the first time he took the mound opening day last year against Purdue Fort Wayne, like, whoa. And then I was like, okay, that was your ramp. The next time I put you in, how you perform is going to decide whether we win or lose that game. And he saved the next game against Omaha. And then we went to Texas, and he saved a game against Dallas Baptist, NCAA tournament team. Saved or won a game against Kansas State, NCAA tournament team. Got 3 or 4 starts, in SEC play. So well positioned. And, I've talked about this before. I don't know, there's a more important player, that we've recruited here. He's obviously got a lot of ability, but the makeup, the character, the competitiveness, kind of those 3 things I just talked about and outlined. I'm not worried about that guy getting himself ready to compete and to win. And, model player, in that regard.
Jay, staying over here, I think we tend to take for granted quality consistency in life, right? When I think of that, I think of Steven, what he's provided for you defensively. What is your wish list for him this year?
I just think he has a great blueprint of what he needs to do to be the best player that he can be. And that makes him extremely valuable for us. I think when you look at last year and you play the schedule that we do and you go through the SEC, you're going to have some bumps in the road. Every player, the team's going to have some bumps in the road. I think towards the end of the season and clearly in the postseason, like he played to the perfect blueprint of a player that I want offensively. Matter of fact, I actually brought him in yesterday and threw up on the video like 5 of the at-bats, and they were all in the postseason of like, hey, this led to this, so this is all I want you to do. And he has such good understanding. We'll never have to have a meeting like that ever again. Defensively, physically be himself. And he, without even having to ask him to do it, like I said, those leadership qualities have really, really elevated. And at that position, with new players around you, that is incredibly vital. So, I love stealing stuff from Coach Burtman, but used to have that saying, like, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. If we brought you here, like, he typifies that. I don't need him to be anybody else but him and who he is at his best.
Yeah, Coach, a lot of the transfers you brought in on the infield, just wondering if you can express just how quickly they've been able to buy into y'all's system on the infield. Zach York, Braden Simpson, Dardar, Caraway, all those guys that are going to be competing for playing time. Just you obviously have a lot to replace there in the infield. Just how have they adjusted, I guess, to being here the first several months on campus?
Yeah, I think, one of the things in your question that you kind of get used to, you can't win the national championship without losing major league players that immediate year. And what a season defensively when you talk about Jared Jones at first base, both offensively and defensively, Danny Dickinson, Michael Braswell, and obviously with Steven is short. Best defense in LSU baseball history. And so you move some of those guys along. That's how we got to the pinnacle there. And so knowing and recruiting it would be really important. Knowing that the draft in Major League Baseball had so much money last year, we were going to get hit with some of our high school talent, evaluating what was and what wasn't on the roster that could up and fill. That was going to be important to go and do that. And, the transfer portal's tricky because you're a little bit at mercy of who decides to go in and who doesn't. Like, you don't get to set the market or who's available. I think, all of them were unique situations. Seth is from Louisiana, and then Zach I'd had a previous relationship with from recruiting Nick, and then Braden was somebody that Coach Simpson evaluated quickly and said, hey, this is a guy we think we want to jump on. And all the while, you're still waiting for them at the draft too. But they've acclimated well. I probably undersold or maybe had a lower opinion of where they were defensively coming in here, and they've worked really hard at it. And, you know, obviously we've really ramped up the intensity of coaching, or the prioritizing the defense part of it. Like after the first season, I became the infield coach, and it's not all that technical or tactical, or it's this crazy system. It's built around fundamentals and reps, and I just want them to know how important it is. And they clearly do. And you see them out here working early, taking extra ground balls, working on very specific things, you know, having somebody that helps me with that, helping them develop routines for their individual development. And, you know, you're talking about, you know, 3-player, and Trent, you know, same thing. You're talking about 4 players that were 4 of the better offensive players on their teams. They know that they have to contribute on both sides of the ball, you know, to be the player they want to be here.
Jay, whether bigger, heavier, stronger, Derek Curiel, what were your off-season goals for him, and what would be noticeable to the fan seeing him from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, everybody has asked me a lot about, and I totally understand about like the switching to center field thing. He's a center fielder. Like he came here as a center fielder. You know, I made a decision last year that not a lot of freshmen come into the SEC and make that type of impact. And it took about probably like 3 weeks of fall baseball to know like this guy's going to play like on a great team. You know, he's going to hit probably towards the top of the order because of the consistency and the quality at bats. I just made a decision like, hey, like let's keep the center field thing off of his plate and just be good at this so you don't wear down during the season, because there's different physical demand playing in center field. Very similar to what we did with Steven as a freshman and having him play second base. And we had a conversation about what's next. I mean, you win the championship, he gets kind of the nail on the coffin hit, wire to wire. You know, started every game of the season, very few dips, bumps in the road. You know, okay, let's think bigger picture. I mean, he wants to be a long-time Major League player. What do you need to do? I mean, you don't have to touch a weight to be a good player for LSU. You don't. But down the road, 3 to 5 to 7 years in his career to have the type of baseball career he wants to have, he really had to work hard with Chris Martin, who's a great strength coach, and he did. And I think we'll see some benefits of that. So really excited about that, and you know, really excited about his motivation to just be here and now and put together a great 2026.
You mentioned Seth being a local guy. What's maybe impressed you the most about him since getting on campus, and what positions is he competing at right now to contribute?
Yeah, with Seth, I think you know, his good baseball skill. I think, you know, when you recruit a player that you're only going to have for 1 year as a senior, that's the expectation, is like they're great at what they're good at. And I think he's used his experience well. I think he has a good fundamental swing that can show up in the game. I think he's a much better defensive player than we talked about, and kind of to Glenn's question. You know, once he committed here, he committed right around the time of the Super Regionals, if I remember right. So we were still playing. It's like, hey, we're bringing you here for your offensive capabilities and production. I saw you hit a homer off Kate Anderson. I saw you hit a double off Casan Evans. You obviously followed that up with a really good season in the Big 12. But to catapult yourself, we need to really make sure that the defensive side of the ball is good, which I didn't really know as much about. And then he went to work prior to coming here and has made himself into a better player and has continued that. As far as his contribution, he can make a contribution at first base, second base, or third base. I think by the time we finish today, he will have played all 3 of them in the scrimmage games.
Coach, with Maverick Rizza, he seems more, I get just comfortable with his delivery. Everything seems more streamlined. What went into that this offseason, and were there any sort of changes to his delivery at all?
Were you here yesterday? Yeah. I couldn't agree more, and I think that's a great observation. I think he has all the talent in the world, and I'm glad you brought him up, because sometimes I feel like he gets overlooked a little bit. But again, you're talking about a freshman that led the national championship team in appearances last year. And part of the reason I did that is because I believe in his ability. So I think part of it was experience, getting out there, getting past the, hey, I'm a freshman from the Northeast coming into this great baseball league. He should be the most confident player on the roster with the physical ability that he has. And so I think that experience was key. I think him understanding, kind of like we were talking about with Derek, what the next steps were physically. I think he's done a terrific job in the weight room. Coach Martin has really emphasized how much better he is moving down the mound. So if I said, hey, this has been the most positive change, I think I don't have any experience of being 6'8", so I can't relate to this. But to really know what he's doing in the weight room and how that would translate to moving well down the mound with his delivery, I think he's got that together. So you're seeing, efficiency, misses are small, command is really good, and the secondary stuff is better as well. And talking a little bit about like his evolution and maturity, I met with him a few days ago, and he's like, I want to extend a little bit. And I was like, okay, like talk me through your thought process. And it was like, I want to be the same pitcher when I don't feel as good, like in the third or fourth inning as opposed to just the first inning. And I thought it's just hyper awareness from a super talented guy that's like put in the right pieces together to be the best that he can be. And I think, I don't think he's going to be a huge part of what we're doing this year.
Jay, if it makes you feel any better, I don't have any experience being 6'8" either. William Schmidt goes 7-0 his freshman year. What were the lessons for him from a season like that he was able to put together his first time here? And then I guess the second part of that is, what's the hope of the potential role he could carve himself out for this team this year?
Yeah, I think very valuable experience. And again, you have to have something to make a positive contribution at a program like this as a freshman, and he certainly does. And I thought he did a great job not making it too big when we put him out on the mound early in the season last year. He has tremendous physical ability. When you talk about 4 pitches, the capabilities that he can throw 4 pitches with. I think what sometimes, and this is why being a college baseball player is so important, and getting challenged and getting outside your comfort zone and coming to a place where the talent kind of measures up to you, you learn the important things. The small things are really critical. Stealing a Kobe Bryant thing of never getting bored with the basics. I think you take a guy like William, who probably overwhelmed everybody for 2 years at Catholic High, you might not understand why the midweek bullpen is important, or the lift after the outing is important, or going back and reviewing, the game and taking the next step forward and improving as the season goes along. I think he did a really good job of absorbing all of that, and I think he's very well positioned to take a step in his growth and his maturity. And I think one of the things I want to do well at is help the players build self-awareness, and then help them put the puzzle together. And I think he did a really good job of that. I really like how he threw the ball yesterday. I really like how he threw the ball last week, and is just like Maverick, is going to be a huge part of the success of this team. And it could be, his role is, he's capable of it being whatever he wants it to be, and he's going to have the opportunity to go get that.
Jay, people look at this program and say, well, they're all this. They've won 2 of the last 3 national titles, and you got all these great players and stuff like that. How much do you want these players to build off of that, or to feel confident based on that, or do you want them to think they've accomplished nothing to this point, or some mix of the two?
It's a really good question. I pay attention to coaches a lot, and I was listening to, or I just saw a clip of Ben Johnson, the coach of the Bears, talking the other day, and they obviously had a terrific season, and that was a really entertaining game. I think it was last weekend that they lost. Somebody asked him about building on that success this year, and he talked about starting over. Like there is no building off of that, and the NFL is different, obviously, than college sports. But I thought it was very insightful, and I want them to, understand where they're at, and the high standard, and that's why one of the things for us this year is hold the standard, and it means something different when we say hold the standard. Like, obviously, you look around here, everybody knows what that is from a results standpoint, but hold the standard of high level of accountability, honoring the process, team over me, and being totally focused on right now. And there's not one game that's going to have direct value from last year in this team's success this year. And so it's really all about right now and being all in on that. And so we want to use your past experience as well, or use our past experience as well to help us with a clear respect for what this team needs to do to be really good, or as good as it can be right now, and reach its potential. So I think you can use it. I don't think it has a lot of relevance. It's not going to help us, and I try to kind of edit everything else out that's not going to be beneficial for us to be good this year.
Coach, Luis Hernandez is a difficult player to replace for a lot of different reasons. How have you seen Kate Arambidi step up as a sophomore and try to take on that large role that he leaves behind?
Yeah, I think both correct statements. That year last year doesn't happen without Luis. And with that being said, I knew the whole time what I believed we had in Cade, which was the best catcher in the country that showed up on a college campus last year. And the expectation, and I told him this last year, is for him at some point to be the best player in the program. And I think if you've paid attention, which I certainly know you have, he had a terrific fall, probably the best player on the team in the fall. And that is, I'm the least surprised person, in this building about that, and proud of him all at the same time, because a player of that talent, to kind of not only accept but embrace that 1B, catcher role, he did that exceptional, and we won a lot because of him. I mean, to catch, 10 SEC games as a freshman, and that was when Anthony was pitching, so we won most of them, and have that contribution and get to play in a regional and super regional, pretty good, So I love where he's at. The game looks incredibly slow for him on offense and defense, and it's something I talk to the freshmen a lot about, is the guys that will have success immediately are the guys that just have a capability of slowing the game down and focusing on their task. I think he learned a lot, last year, and I really see him doing that well right now.
I think this time last year we talked about getting the right guys on the bus, being a phrase that you would use, I guess. Just how much have you put value on that aspect of the team, and how has it changed, say, in the last 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think it makes coaching more enjoyable when you have that. I know there's coaches that will have like a strong, like super direct criteria for choosing and evaluating character. I wouldn't be standing in front of you today if I wasn't willing to roll the dice sometimes on guys that don't have it all together, or don't come from the perfect family, or, are not a 4.0 student. And those are some of the guys I'm like the most proud of in my entire coaching career. I think when you do get, though, and I'm using the extremist of extreme examples, when you get Paul Skeens, when you get Kate Anderson, when you get Dylan Cruz, I'll use a guy like Danny Dickinson as an example, where they're the best players on your team, Jared Jones, and they're the best dudes, and they carry the weight of the other things that are controllable off the field. It just has such a positive impact on what happens. And I think, again, I don't know what it means for wins and losses and those types of things, but to see Jake Brown, to see Chris Stanfield, to see Casan Evans, to see Cooper Williams, Gavin Guidry, William Schmidt take the lessons, of being a part of a team that was full of those kinds of guys, and know that they're important and do their part now to translate that or pay that forward, that's a big deal. And so it is a priority. I don't think there's a perfect scenario or blueprint for it. I would say we hit the lottery last year in talent and character, especially with the guys that we got out of the portal. and it paid massive dividends. And so we know that it's important, but I think you can get yourself in trouble with just running one lane. There's certain non-negotiables, but I do feel like we have a team full of good guys. I think their challenges are going to be different. And, I like the starting point of, being able to meet those.
Coach, Gavin was a very good, reliable arm for you out of the pen for 2 years. He misses last year because of the back injury. Just talk a little bit about his rehab process, how his mindset was through that, and what is his role and expectation going to be for this season?
Yeah, he threw 3 innings yesterday, fully himself. Thought he threw strikes, really liked the pitch mix. You are correct when you say I believe in him a lot. That's why he pitched in the role that he did. You guys have heard me talk at length. Some of the best pitching in our program is always going to be in the bullpen, and I thought he served that well in 23 and 24. I thought he did a great job last year handling the adversity of that. Not easy to do when it's kind of really supposed to be your time. And, he sat at the front of the dugout, next to Jamie and myself. And, did a great job with all that part of it. But the injury stuff's all in the rear view. I expect him to be a massive contributor. What that looks like, there's a lot of figuring out to do. It's so I don't come into these things and go, hey, this is the rotation, this is who's competing. I don't do that because, 2.5 weeks is a lifetime, and Game 10 is a lifetime from Game 1. And you want to use another Coach Burtman. I think his line was tax day. You said it and you go with it. So we're a long ways from tax day, but he will be a huge part of our success this year.
How much percent-wise has, say, your NIL budget gone up the past couple of years because of success and more people wanting to donate money? And has it gone up quite a bit? I mean, a little more money to deal with?
Well, that's an interesting question because the rules have literally changed every single year in some way, shape, or form. With that, I'm very thankful for the people that have contributed to LSU baseball in that regard. You can't survive without them. But with the rule changes, with NIL, with revenue sharing, it's a different issue now. You know what I mean? It's an issue of it's important that LSU continues to make baseball a priority, and continues to invest on that side of revenue sharing, and again, it's in that regard, it's a little bit more like the big leagues. Do you want to be the Dodgers or do you want to be a small market team? And schools are going to decide kind of the sports that they want to be good in. Relative to the NIL thing, I think one thing that in this new landscape that helps us a little bit is this stadium's full. 500,000 people come through it on a yearly basis. So the players have a marketing, there's actually a marketing value to them. They're the highest social media following, I think, on all the platforms, and that's where people go to get their information. So, college baseball in some places a channel changer, people don't pay attention to it. Well, they do here. And so that allows for our players to have some opportunities, and I'm very thankful for anybody that contributes to that because it's a day and it's a time that you're not going to have the success everybody wants to have if they don't. So, like I said, every year it's been a different challenge and a different set of rules with those stuff. We're just going to always stay within them. And my hope is that the people and the school will continue to give us a chance to be successful.
When you look at last year, so many freshmen contributing on that team, and now to have so many of those guys back, how much did it help you, I guess, when you were constructing this team, knowing you were going to have that nucleus back in the fold, kind of in the era of the transfer portal where, so many guys are entering after every year, and then just kind of how does that play into the freshmen that are on this year's team, and how impactful you think those guys can be going into this season?
Yeah, man, really good question again. So we are in a good, I don't know if I've ever seen this, where we lost so much contribution from a team that reached the pinnacle, and we returned so much from a team that reached the pinnacle. And I think it's probably a credit to recruiting and balance. You know, we have not sold out to just Portal City. We've developed really good high school players here. And I think last year's freshman class, and I said it in this thing, was by far the best group of freshmen that we have brought in. And my goal is to be able to come to you and say that every single year, because we're constantly elevating, you know, the standard and the bar of the player we're bringing in, and getting to bypass professional baseball and choose LSU over MLB. So those guys, yeah, I mean, somebody asked about Casan, you know, pitching on the biggest stage, and how about the regional Game 7, most important game of the season, to come out and, you know, I struck out like 10 or 11 in a row. It's one of the best performances in a big game probably in the history of the stadium, and that's saying a lot. Huge value in that, you know. And then on the other end of it, or maybe the other extreme, John Pearson, you know, he might only had 30 at bats, but he got to the plate twice in Omaha, you know, so I think that's valuable. You know, Kate, you know, catching in the regionals and super regionals a little bit. William pitching in the regionals and super regionals. Maverick pitching in the regionals and super regionals. Cooper Williams, you know, towing the rubber in the 8th inning of a game we're winning in the College World Series. So I think that can be valuable. Now, they all want to take a step forward in their development. And so you put all of the focus in on what do they need to do that. You know, whether it's Derek with the strength, John improving on the defensive side of the baseball, you know, William taking a step forward in the controllable aspects. I would say the same thing about, you know, Casan, you know, Maverick really having a good understanding of what makes him great as a pitcher and pitching with that aggressiveness, assertiveness, and conviction. And then we're constantly just trying to go like this as we go. And so, you know, maybe at the end of the season we're talking about them in an entirely different universe because they keep doing that. Now, the impact that has is you can go to a really talented freshman, whether on the pitching side, it's Marcos Paz, you know, Reagan Ricken, Zion Theophilus, or the position player side, Cerna, Braun, Ruckert, Claus, I'm leaving somebody out, William Patrick. I think that's it. I think that's all of them. I think there's 8. And understand, like, kind of how this can go here for some of the best guys. You know, it's like, it's great when Derek Curiel or Casan walk in the door and do that, but those are few and far between. I was telling somebody on the pitching side of things, the only guy in the entire league since I've been here that I think's gone wire to wire, freshman to junior year as a starter, is Drew Beam from Tennessee as a pitcher. Tells you how hard that is to do.
Coach, you talked about last season, the word that you used to describe the team was mature. Do you have a word to describe this team yet, even though it's kind of early?
No, and you just said it. It's only because it's early. You know, they haven't been tested yet. And I think when you go through like shared experience, both successes and positives and adversity, which is the only thing I can guarantee them, you learn more about what that is. But the word you just used is critical in baseball, you know, because when we grow up or we're more mature, we handle hard things well. And you don't know that. And they're going to have to do that. You know, when you look at the schedule, is our success will be determined by not letting small things bother us or distract us or take us off target. And so I would love for you to ask me that question, you know, 35 games into the season, and it's a team of men, not a team of boys.
Coach, with John Pearson, it seems like he's definitely trimmed down and changed his body a good bit. So what was sort of the process throughout the offseason? How has that sort of paid off for him already?
Yeah, I wanted him to go play because of the role he had on last year's team. So he went to the lacrosse loggers in the Northwoods League probably for about a month. I mean, left Omaha, went and straight there and played. But then that part of it was going to be key of, you know, his physical conditioning body to be in the type of player that he wants to be. So he came back like around August 1st, got going with Coach Martin, close attention to his diet, and it was the ability to be able to move easier and better, which helps him defensively and helps him offensively. I think he's improved. Still think we got some work to do there, as he would tell you, but definitely trending in a good direction. Took a couple really good at-bats yesterday. So I'm excited about his improvement, and he can definitely help our team, you know, in some capacity. And like I said, there's a lot to still be sorted out. And I don't think it will be one of those teams. and you guys have probably gotten used to this, it's not a straight line where opening day this is what it's going to be, in the national championship game it looks the same. Last year we used a lot of players and a lot of pitchers, and that's probably as close as I've ever had it from day one to the end of the year. But he's going to contribute to the team, and I'm excited about that improvement that he's made.
Jay, I think you have a couple of guys back that may have hoped last June to be drafted. So for a guy like Cowan, Stanfield, maybe Jaden Newt, like how have you seen that sort of fuel their off season to get ready for this year, and what sort of leadership aspects do you think they'll take with this team in terms of being able to tell some of their teammates that, well, we hope to have been there, didn't quite get there, so this is what we hope to get out of this season?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. You guys are in mid-season form today. So that's a very unique dynamic. It's a really unique dynamic, and very unique coming off of a season like last year where you won a national championship, and all three of those guys played in the College World Series and had what I would call a significant role on a national championship team. The pro baseball thing, it's really hard to predict. My entire staff was telling me last year, there's a good chance we're going to get Chris back. And I'm like, no, we're not getting him back. He can play center field. He led the SEC in doubles. His speed, defense, energy shows up every day. He really improved as an offensive player. I would draft Chris Stanfield. So you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm glad I was wrong. I was totally on board with him going because that's what he wanted to do. Now, I was kind of shocked. I mean, draft ends 20 rounds. I didn't see that. And then so I had shot him a text. I was like, let's talk in the morning. And before I could even get a word out of my mouth, Coach, I can't wait. I'm excited to come back. Let's go get after this thing again. And I just, I'll talk a lot about these guys. Like, that dude is super important to me. I love Chris Stanfield. So, it's selfishly, not just because of the baseball contribution. I'm in a lot better mood because he's back in that locker room. Zach Cowan, and I think we all appreciate the things that make Zach a great pitcher. He's incredibly intelligent too. He is very smart, and we had a plan going into the draft. So the day of the draft, I remember I was watching my nephew play in Little League All-Stars, and I'm standing out in the outfield, and I'm talking to Zach on the phone, hey, let's just go over this. What's the plan? I would just want to be on the same page. And he laid it out, and he stuck to it, and we're lucky to get him back, and very thankful for that. And same type of thing. We've taken some things that made some small, working adjustments with him to get him to another level, to not only be good for us, but have a good career in baseball after this. And then Jaden, it's been like this. He got hurt at the very worst possible time, right before a season for a pitcher, and the injury that kind of takes you out for 2 full seasons. Made his way back, made a positive contribution, but it was I'm proud of his self-awareness of not yet. I need this year, and to come back is awesome. And to be in position to graduate from LSU for him is awesome. So I think they're all in a great mindset. He's starting for one of the teams today. They're all in a great mindset, and I just, like I said, the coolest part about this job is the relationships with those guys, and I would have been happy and proud if they went along, but I'm in a better mood because they're all still here.
You talked about strength and Derek getting bigger. What is, when you sit down with him and come up with a game plan like you do with every player, what's the next step for him? What do you want to see from him individually to be better than he was last year?
I think what I love and appreciate about him is 2 things. Loves baseball, and I don't know that I've ever had another player. I think this is probably where him and Dylan are the most comparable, that are as focused and as competitive in the batter's box. And when I can pay you that compliment, that's all I need you to do. That's all I need you to do. And like I said, it's a lot of fun. I've known him longer than anybody in the team or program, which is kind of unique because he's only a sophomore. And the level of conversations we have in the office over text message are at a different level. He doesn't need to do anything else other than be Derek Curiel.
Hey, Jay, can you speak on the challenge of facing teams from the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and the Live Like Lou Gehrig Classic?
Yeah, I love those tournaments, the peak events tournaments. They do a great job running them. I think when they started out, and we played in them twice at Arizona, is they want to make it feel like an NCAA regional, if you will, and in terms of caliber of teams, you know, of game 1, game 2, that type of thing. And so we have, you know, a deal with them where we played in Round Rock a couple years ago, Frisco last year, Jacksonville this year. I think there's good value. This is a really good schedule. Like, you know, I don't think we had a very good non-conference schedule last year. There were some circumstances beyond our control that we kind of landed on that, and I take responsibility for everything. But this year, that's not the case, you know. And you know, look at Indiana. You know, they won the football championship. How about that, by the way? You know, I was listening to their coach was on MLB Network the morning of the football championship game, and he said like they've had more freshman All-Americans than anybody in college baseball in the last 4 or 5 years. Always have big physical, strong players. I remember, you know, when I was at San Diego, we played them, and Kyle Schwarber was hitting balls off the building in our outfield. So they always have a good team. Notre Dame, never played Notre Dame before, but Coach Stifler, he coached Ben DePaul when he was at VCU before he transferred here. So Ben, who's still with us, has given us some good insight about the brand of baseball that they play. And then Coach Wallace at Central Florida is a really good coach. And Coach Lopez, a great recruiter. I actually talked to Coach Wallace one of the times we had a staff opening about possibly coming here. So I expect them to be like really good, and I don't think they had the season they wanted to in Big 12 play last year. I know they're really motivated. So I think it's great challenges, and it's not just that. I mean, we got some Kent State, you know, great midweek team. Milwaukee has a really old pitching staff, like all their innings are back. Creighton, you know, in a midweek here. Northeastern, I think, was like 47-9. I think Mississippi State beat them by 1 run in a regional to eliminate them before the championship game last year. Sac State, Reggie Christensen, he's one of the best coaches in the country. So, and then obviously all the in-state teams on Tuesday that, you know, they come in here that this is the deal, you know. So we're going to be challenged in the non-conference schedule, and so that's all these stuff that I started with. The mindset piece becomes so important, and why it is great to have, you know, Derek, Jake, Steven, Chris, Cade, you know, Tanner Reeves, all those guys with that experience back is really helpful.
Coach, this is something we asked you about after the national championship, the success y'all have had with the transfer pitchers, obviously Skeens, Ian Singh, Jump. Cooper Moore this year in from Kansas, he's thrown pretty well, obviously, in the fall and so far in the preseason. How do you envision him following their paths to success here?
Yeah, I think he was probably the most successful pitcher on our team in the fall relative to results. I thought he had a good outing on Wednesday. He's going to be at the front of this thing. He's going to throw a ton of innings. As far as, I don't think those guys that previously pitched here have anything to do with Cooper per se, but I do think he can give us a great contribution similarly to the, you know, whether you want to call it Skeens, Riley Cooper, Holman, Gage Jump, Anthony, Zach Cowan. He believes in himself. He's got the right kind of ability and disposition to be really successful here.
Coach, you've talked a lot about the 3 things that it takes for a team to continue that sort of championship level of success, or its accountability or whatnot. Have you seen any of these 3 things? Do you have like an example of seeing any of these 3 things play out with this team so far since the fall started?
That's a really good question. I think so today is Friday, so we are on practice day number 11. And it's early in the season. Everybody's excited. You know, there's obviously guys want to make their mark, you know, and try to establish a good spot for themselves on the team. I do like how we've trained, practiced, prepared, and respected what we do. Like, today matters to me. Yes, they want to get to game day. Of course. That's when you're a competitor, you're like that. But, kind of that, what I said earlier, that Kobe Bryant not get bored with the basics, that what we do, in a 12 o'clock hitting group 2 hours before practice starts really matters, and the intention matters. So I've seen really good examples of that. I think there's a different element of this team. It's very difficult. We mentioned accountability. It's very difficult for young people to be willing to do that, to step out of the comfort zone, because a lot of times they're more worried about being liked than respected. So we showed them a video of Michael Jordan the other day from The Last Dance. That scene, it's the best 90 seconds in TV history, where he talked about, pulling people along when they didn't want to be pulled along. And, I told him the story that was kind of around that, about I think he punched Steve Kerr in the face. We don't have to get to that point, but there was this thought on those teams that the practices were so intense that the games really slowed down. So you look at what can happen here, especially the pitchers that threw yesterday, that's some real high-level pitching stuff. Well, can the hitters make it hard on those guys, and vice versa? So when we get to game day, it slows down. And so I think they've done a really good job of those two pieces. The team part of it, they talk about it a lot. They talk about the value of placing the needs of the team above your own. But like I said, we haven't had any adversity or any challenges or that, so I can't comment on that, and I wouldn't expect to. But I like our chances of continuing to make those things important. All right, thank you, guys.
I will continue first with sophomore outfielder Derek Curiel. Derek, as you know, was the 2025 National Freshman of the Year, and he's been named to first-team preseason All-America squads this year. So we'll bring up Derek, and he'll take your questions for about 10 minutes or so.
Derek, right here. Jay talked about the weight room with you and trying to get stronger. I'm interested to know, what is the focus for you in terms of overall as a player, and how important was it to try to get stronger in the weight room, and what progress have you seen?
For sure. Bigger, faster, stronger is the biggest thing for me this offseason. I wanted to improve my speed. I wanted to improve some of my exit velo stuff. My get-out speed, meaning how fast I get out of the box, how fast I get off my steel break. Those are just a few things I wanted to improve, and I think we did a great job with that. I think a lot of the guys on our team did a great job with that this offseason, and I think we'll look a little bit better in our uniforms this year. So I think it'll be a good look.
Derek, back here. How nice is it for you that this entire outfield returns, and how does that kind of, make things easier for you as well?
Yeah, it's huge. To have Chris Stanfield back and Jake Brown means a lot. We're all very close friends. We hang out a lot, and 2 years together now. And obviously we were the returning outfield in Omaha last year, so to have that is great. Jake Brown looks great this fall. Chris Stanfield looks great. I think we're going to do a really good job this year, and to be able to just have that trio back, a lot of chemistry in the outfield, and I think we're going to track a lot of balls down and do some damage at the plate as well, and be able to score runs.
Yeah, just over here, just getting adjusted back to being out in center field. Just how long did it take before it felt just like normal again, and just how maybe have you worked to improve as a defensive center fielder than maybe the last time you played when you were in high school?
Yeah, it's felt comfortable since day one. Since day one out there on the box, me being back in center. I played center my whole life in middle school, high school. That's kind of where I play. And last year I played left field, and I love that. Now it's something I have under my belt. Now I can also play left field for any team. And to do that for the LSU Tigers last year was really cool. But now I get to be the center fielder, and that's something I always wanted. I always wanted to come here and play center field like Dylan Cruz. So now that I get to do that, means a lot. And we're working on a bunch of stuff right now. We have the biggest center field of any school in the SEC, so being able to cover those gaps are going to be a lot of fun.
Derek, Jay talked about recruiting you and kind of having conversations with you in your freshman season about playing left field and maybe taking that center field pressure off your plate. I guess now that it's in your rearview mirror, was that beneficial to you? Do you feel like that was the right move for you to make as you kind of got acclimated to college ball?
For sure. I think for the longevity of my career, I think that's going to be very beneficial for me. Last year was beneficial for that team, and I was willing to do anything in my power to be oh my bad, I'm losing my words right here, to be helpful for my team, my bad. But any role he wanted me at is what I was going to do, and since it was left field last year, I took ownership of that role, and I think I hit the ground running with that. But now that I get to be back in center field, I think it's going to be great.
Coming off your freshman season, now being a veteran and being a sophomore, are there any true freshmen that have kind of caught your eye or impressed you so far? I know it's early on.
For sure, I think all three of our freshman pitchers. We actually have four. One of them's hurt, but Marcos Paz, Zion, and Regan Ricken. They look really, really good on the bump. I don't think I've seen three freshmen pitch that great in a long time. So to see that is really promising for the future of this program. And also guys like Jack Rucker, William Patrick, Mason Braun have done a great job hitting. So yeah, I think Coach Johnson does a great job of recruiting all the time. And every time you get a freshman class incoming here, they're gonna be pretty good.
From winning a championship as a freshman, what do you feel like is the biggest thing that you learned from that journey that you can apply to chasing that goal again?
The biggest thing I learned is it's a long season. A weekend doesn't dictate it, a week doesn't dictate it, a month doesn't dictate it. I mean, Coach Johnson always says 56-game playoff, which I agree with. But, I mean, we had a bad series at Auburn, we had a bad series at Texas A&M. But to be able to bounce back from that, just to see the toughness of your team, I think that's the biggest thing I learned. And last year, our motto was tough and together, and I think we showed that really well. This year, our motto's all in. And LSU over me. But I think this team has that toughness too. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned, just to stay on the narrow road and not get sidetracked with if we lose a couple games here and there, but just to make sure we keep playing Tiger baseball.
Derek, Coach Johnson mentioned how important it is to slow the game down and be focused while you're in the batter's box. How do you think you've improved in that since you've been in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I think I've improved with that a lot. Slowing the game down is everything. The game wants to speed you up, and you have to do the best. You have to do the best of your ability and have a good internal clock of slowing the game down. Obviously, we have a pitch clock now, so it makes it a little bit harder. But just to use that to your advantage sometimes and kind of wind those seconds down a little bit. Take deep breaths. We work on that stuff with our mental coach here as well. Just having your mental cues and your breathing cues, and just being focused, because we work our butts off all year to be able to play this game. So when we get out there, it's kind of like playing a children's game. That should be the reward, is us playing baseball. So I don't think there should be any nervousness from us at all. I know there's excitement because we work so hard to get there, but once it's time to play, it's time to play.
When you guys first met last week, I guess now, what did Jay sort of say when it came to trying to put together a team that can try to repeat as a champion and sort of maintain the success that has already been set here with 2 titles in 3 years?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again one more time? I'm sorry.
What did Jay say to you guys when you guys first met at the start of the season about just the idea of trying to maintain the success, trying to win another championship? Like what did he say? What examples did he use? What did he say in terms of like trying to maintain the standard after already reaching the mountaintop?
Yeah, the main 2 things he said to us is LSU over me and being all in on this team, not worrying about what happened last year or what's going to happen next year, to be all in on now. And obviously we have great history here, but this 2026 team is trying to set our own history. So for us being all in on now and on these next 6 months is huge. And Coach Johnson always tells us they don't remember you if you don't win. So I think we take that to heart, and we're going to do everything in our power to win every ball game, and it's a 56-game playoff. And then after that, the postseason, but taking it a game at a time for sure.
Watching your game film, you personally, what do you say, I need to improve upon this better at the plate? What are you specifically looking at of, just your approach at the plate? What do you feel like you need to get better at?
I feel like I need to get better at my speed, my get-out speed, my takeoffs. I think I've improved a little bit. I think there's still some room to grow, and obviously my physical strength is something I've been working on for quite some time now. I've seen improvement on that, but I don't think that it's at its ceiling yet either. So just making sure I kind of grow into that man body, I think that's the biggest thing for me. And this year, just competing. I mean, the name of the game is to compete in the box and just be a hard out. That's going to be my goal every time I go up there, is to be a hard out for the other team. make the pitcher throw a lot of pitches and get on base for my team, steal some bases, and help score. If we score, we win. So that's kind of the things I need to do this year.
We got time for two more for Derek. As the defending champs, obviously you're going to go throughout this season with the target on your back, right? How do you embrace maybe that challenge of knowing that everybody, every time that you face someone, they are looking at you as the champs?
For sure. Coach Johnson kind of talked about this 2 weeks ago, kind of flipping the target around. Obviously, we have the target on our back, but he kind of said, let's put the gun in our hand, and they have the target, you know? Obviously, people are going to be coming at us, but it's for us to have the gun in our hand and go at them, you know? We're not scared to play anyone, and we trust in our team, we trust in our coaches and what we've built, so it's kind of just playing ball from here on out.
Hey, Derek, just wondering what you've learned from Justin Bridgman since he's been with the team as the director of player development on defense.
Coach Bridge has been great. Coach Bridge has done a great job with the infielders. I think our infielders have improved a lot. I think Coach Bendapole has helped with that as well. Coach Bridgman's a great dude. He kind of keeps it loose in the cages too. We like to have fun. He throws some good BP too. Me and him kind of have an inside joke. If I ever do a home run derby, which I probably won't, he'll be my BP guy. But he's done a great job, and I'm very happy for him. Yeah.
All right, next up will be Chris Stanfield. Chris, senior outfielder, of course, member of the College World Series All-Tournament team, winner of the Tony Gwynn Community Service Award last year. Chris will take your questions. Thank you, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Chris, you're probably going to be asked this question 100 times, but the move to left field, what went into it, and what's your thoughts on it, and how's it applied itself thus far in practice?
Yeah, so in July when I called Coach telling him I was coming back, he told me right away that I'd be in left, and I told him, no problem, you know, whatever's best for the team. And that's really all that went into it. I'm sorry, what was your next question after that? Yeah, it's been great. You know, DC, Jake, and I have great chemistry. And it's been a lot of fun. It's a different perspective, and I feel like in the future it can help me with a lot of versatility.
Chris, what kind of improvements have you seen, you know, in yourself this offseason, whether it be in the weight room, your batting, you know, position playing, anything like that?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, a lot. In the weight room first, I've put on 10 pounds. And really just last year I was playing around 188, 190. So now I'm around 196, 198. So that's really been the biggest thing in adding strength and really just growing up. I say my swing as well. Just trying to impact the ball more and see more pitches as well and get on base any way I can. Yeah, sorry. Cool. I didn't know. Yeah.
Chris, with the draft, how close were you to actually taking a deal and moving on to professional baseball? How tough was it to make a decision through those, 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, it was a tough decision for sure. A few teams reached out, and it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right thing, and I talked to a lot of people, of course, prayed, and talked to my family. And once Coach Johnson said he wanted me back, that was really it. You know, that was the best option for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the chemistry that you have with Derek and with Jake. Just how has that maybe even grown, I guess, here over the last several months? I mean, Derek getting settled back into center, you into left, and then Jake obviously staying in right. Just how has that dynamic worked, I guess, since you guys have returned in the fall and going into the spring?
Yes, sir. It's been great. You know, I feel like we've definitely grown closer as a trio and just learned a lot about each other as well. And I know for me, I learned a lot about DC and Jake I didn't know last year. And just being around them more and getting adjusted, like you said, to Derek in center, myself in left. And it's kind of, DC and Jake have new chem in right and center. So it's been great and helping all the new guys get comfortable and, just help us win.
Chris, I guess kind of to follow that up, Jay said that he felt like yourself, Derek, Jake are the best you guys have ever been since you've been at LSU as you get ready to head into this season. Why do you feel like he thinks that about you guys? What is it about that trio that makes your head coach feel like, the outfield's as good as it's ever been?
Yes, sir. I think, for us, it's a lot of trust. I think for, trusting the guy behind us, and for us, it's kind of been 1, 2, 3 in the order. So, just trusting that they'll get the job done, and, trusting the man to your left and to your right. And then I think for Coach, all of us with our second year in the program, that means a lot. And, I can say last year being my first year, it's much different. So just a lot of trust and knowing what we need to do to win.
Derek told us that one of the mantras or mottos for this team is all in. So what does that mean for you, I guess, and maybe what do you think it means for the entire team?
Yeah, like Koki said, the draft was tough, but coming back here, I'm all in now on this team and helping the new guys get settled in, helping even the returners, with whatever they need, and being a leader for this team, and also, being there for the coaches and being the guy they can trust and rely on, and just, not have my head anywhere else and just be focused on this season and what needs to be done to run it back.
Jay's talked about 3 things in terms of the keys for this team to continue the success of last year, which includes complacency, accountability, and avoiding selfishness, right? So how have you seen those things sort of manifest, and do you have like examples of seeing that with this team so far this year in terms of accomplishing those things?
Yeah, I think this team this fall, the new guys have come in ready to work, every single one of them, and that's been great. And for the returners, the same thing, holding the standards, one of our keys as well, and just not being complacent is just coming ready to work and ready to get better every day. And I think, this team's done a great job of it. This fall they came in, and I feel like we've grown a lot. And now, going into the spring, it's just all in, don't hold anything back and trust in everything we've trained.
Hey, Chris, it can kind of be hard to know what kind of team you have until you're in it and playing against other competition and stuff. Y'all did that in the fall against Sanford and Southeastern, and now you're doing the preseason inter-squads. What have you learned about the team when you're in these game-like scenarios?
Yeah, I feel like we definitely have a resilient team. I can speak for the Southeastern Louisiana game. That was tough. It was close for a little. They have a really good team over there. And we had to pull through late. I remember, I think we scored 2 runs late in the game to kind of gain momentum and, gain a little bit of like, all right, we can not chill, but, it's just, yeah. And I feel like in the Sanford game, if I can remember, they hit a homer early. And we had to respond. So I feel like this team's just really together, on and off the field. We hang out a lot, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know everyone, the new guys, and getting to know the returning guys better.
I got a couple for you. I guess everybody talks about the comfort level in the outfield, et cetera. Is that just kind of learning their speed and working on the communication? Like, what else would go into that as far as comfort level between the 3 of y'all?
Communication, for sure. Just like learning what that guy likes to hear when he's close to the wall, because I feel like going back to the wall is the biggest key. Like, that's where it's uncomfortable, and towards like the corners as well. But I really just say talk and communicate.
And then the idea of like you being the hunter instead of the hunted, I thought that was great that Derek talked about that. I guess just how can you utilize that and being a little bit more mature than maybe some of the other guys around you, realize that that complacency that you kind of talked about, there's no place for it, and how can you use that to kind of go on the offensive?
Yes, sir. Yeah, being at LSU, we know where we're at, but staying focused on our process and our plan is most important. And, going out there like we want to win just as much as anyone wants to beat us. And I feel like, that's a mentality and a motto that's just instilled from day one.
Chris, you mentioned just briefly there about how every guy kind of wants to hear something different when guys are coming together. They're going towards the wall on those tight fly balls. What do Derek and Jake like to hear, like to say when you're sort of communicating out a ball, especially with Steve?
Yeah. So if a ball's deep and like we're getting to the track, we like to say track. And that kind of lets us know that we have 2 steps before we have to go up and jump. Or, you kind of still have to read the ball, but once you hit the track, you kind of have 2, and then you jump.
right, next will be our shortstop, Steven Milam. Steven, in his junior year, member of the College World Series tournament team last year, and LSU's leading hitter throughout the postseason. Questions for Steven?
Steven, can you talk about your battles yesterday against Santiago Garcias, your old high school teammate, and how it's been playing with him?
Yeah, it's been awesome. You know, two kids from Las Cruces. You know, he had a different path than I did. He went to Central and then to Oregon, and then, you know, ended up here. So, grew up together since we were kids. Played together. He was a shortstop when he played back in the day, and you know, it's just awesome. You know, to see him grow, see us grow. You know, we got a text from our high school coach. You know, just how proud he was of us, and you know, it's gonna be fun to go through a year with him and, you know, try and win another national championship.
Steven, you were obviously on the 24 team that also tried to defend a national title. What did you learn from that season that you can apply to this year?
Yeah, you gotta go hunt instead of being hunted, and you know, you gotta have a tight group of guys, and I feel like that's what we had last year, and you know, that's what we're gonna try and build on. You know, you gotta trust each other, you gotta work it all out, and at the end of the day, you gotta go out there and win ball games even when it's hard. And you know, I feel like we did a good job of that last year, and you know, we have a blueprint for it, and you know, we're trying to recreate that.
You're the lone returning face on the infield. What do you try to step up in a leadership role to tell the other players and just try to help them adjust? And who do you think you're going to be surrounded by?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of great guys in the infield this year. A lot of versatility, a lot of very athletic guys this year. I don't know who I'm going to be surrounded by, but you know, you can throw any one of those 6 guys out there, and you know, they're going to go make plays. It's just more trying to slow the game down for them, and you know, telling them the right spots, and kind of just getting a feel for how they like to play the infield. Just getting to know each other is the best way I could describe it. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own philosophy of fielding and how they envision that. So that's been what we're working on, just getting time with each other.
And speaking of one of those guys, being around Seth, what's your first impressions of him, and where do you feel like he can contribute for this team?
Yeah, he's a great player. Took Kate Anderson deep last year. Just been having good at bats. He's a tough out. He can play defense, and you know, just as long as he keeps on improving, he can, you know, help us win in a lot of ways. Hitting, running, on defense. He's a very versatile player. Can play multiple positions, and you know, I don't know where the cards are going to fold, but you know, I think he can help us win.
What did Jay say to you guys for that first team meeting of the season about trying to maintain the success, try to, you know, win a third title in 4 years, trying to maintain the highest of high bars that you guys have already set?
Yeah, it's a new year. It's 2026, and you know, you can't be complacent about 2025, and you got to keep getting better every single day that we walk in here, and you know, we got to hold each other accountable, and we got to continue to grow as a team. And you know, at the end of the day, we got the right guys on the bus this year, and you know, just keep growing and keep evolving. And at the end of the day, if we keep showing up and keep putting in the effort that nobody is doing, you know, we'll be at the top again.
Hey, Steven, just wondering the impact that Coach Bridgman has had upon you since he joined the staff.
Yeah, he's a great coach, great infield coach, doing a lot of different drills this year with our infield. I think it's shown a lot of improvement throughout the fall and through now. You know, we got Jack Rucker, Ethan Claus. They've been working a lot with me, him, and Bridge. So he's been good. You know, we lost Nick McCleary, but he's really good at his job.
Yeah, Steven, when you have the chemistry that you did last year with Danny at second, just, you know, 3 or 4 different guys maybe working in at that position, what did you maybe learn from how quickly that chemistry grew with you and Daniel last year, and how, you know, you can implement that with, you know, a bunch of different guys this year that are competing for playing time at that spot?
Yeah, we've all been taking ground balls with each other. There's like 4 guys right now, and you know, at the end of the day, as long as they can just get it to me, I feel like that's the best way I could describe it. And you know, I'm gonna learn them, and they're gonna learn me, and we'll be like I'll know the back of my hand, and you know, we'll figure it out. But you know, there's multiple options there, and you know, any one of those guys can, you know, step up in any given day and win a ball game for us.
Back here, your coach said that he wouldn't trade you for any other shortstop in the country. I mean, you're not a guy that needs confidence, but I mean, what do words like that kind of do and mean to you?
Yeah, I mean it's awesome to hear, but at the end of the day, I got to do my job and I got to help this team win, and we got to get our guys close, and we got to go out there and win ball games. It's nice to hear, but you can't. It's not the end all be all.
Just watching Tanner throughout fall, I guess a little bit here, just seeing the strides he's made there. What can you say about his work ethic, I guess, and knowing that guy for a year now? Maybe not like a Danny where he's kind of new to the team. How may that be beneficial to him?
Yeah, he's worked really hard since he's gotten here to improve on his defensive game, and he's been hitting. I think he hit a homer yesterday, and he's been putting the barrel on the ball and making it tough on other guys. But he's worked hard in the weight room, put on a lot of weight, gotten better defensively. He's trying to clean some stuff up, but at the end of the day, he's put in the work, and it's showing. I know he'll keep doing the same, but he's been really good. It's impressive to watch.
You mentioned Clausen and Ruckert. How have you taken them under your wing, and what have you liked from their game so far?
Yeah, I like both of them. They're guys that weren't the best, I would say, at their position, and that's how I was. And both left-handed hitters, love lefties. And just trying to slow the game down for them is the biggest thing. They got all the talent in the world. It's just now trying to slow the game down and make it easier on them, and learning from my failures, and trying to help them out in the box, or whatever it is, if they get a bad hop or something. But I think they're going to be the next infield here, and that's what's going to come after me.
You mentioned accountability earlier. Do you have an example of you guys trying to keep yourselves accountable so far this season?
I would say just trying to take every inner squad and get better at something, not just going through the motions, whether it's the weight room, whether it's hitting, whether it's doing the boring drills that you see us doing on the side. It's trying to be perfect and master it. It takes 10,000 reps to master something, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to master this game. We're always chasing something. Jake's going to hold me accountable. Stan's going to hold me accountable. Trent Caraway's going to hold me accountable if I'm not doing it the right way, and that's how a great team wins.
Steven back here. You're being from New Mexico. There's obviously another LSU legend from New Mexico. What has it been like following in his footsteps?
It's been awesome. Bregman just signed a big deal with the Cubs, and it's cool to watch him throughout his career. And I wanted to come here whenever I saw that, but it's my time and my career, and at the end of the day, I want to be better than him. But he's a great, and I'll always have major respect for him.
Steve, what do you like about this team so far? Like, you've been around enough baseball teams to kind of see something that makes it stand out. What do you like about it?
I think we got a lot of versatility, a lot of athleticness, and speed, power. It's a fun combination, I would say. It's a lot different, but it's pretty awesome. Like, you can just throw in one guy, and you're going to get speed and power, and then you can get contact with another guy. We got a lot of ways to beat you, a lot of ways to skin a cat, like Coach Johnson would say, and that's what it takes to win at this level.
You talked about the freshmen just a bit ago. Do you see kind of yourself in them being hungry and doing whatever it takes to try to get out there and get some playing time?
Yeah, I do. In both of them, they're taking ground balls probably right now on the infield. That's how I was my freshman year, trying to improve and get better any way I can. And, they're always asking questions. They're always trying to, figure stuff out. And, that's what's great about them. And that's why I feel like they're going to succeed at this school.
All right, next up will be junior right fielder Jake Brown. Sorry, Jake. As a sophomore, Jake led LSU in hitting at the College World Series to help lead the Tigers to the national championship. Jake Brown.
I'll move this thing up. Jake, it seems I'd love to get your perspective on your 3 years in now. You came here as, Jake Brown, the left-handed pitcher. That's what everybody thought. And now starting outfielder, and you're just kind of a fixture out there. What's it been like, and just what's it been like overall, just being here in year 3?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, coming here was a dream for me ever since I was a little kid, and now that I'm finally here living that out, like you said, it's year 3 now. Stepping into more of a leadership role this year, has definitely been something that's not only challenged me, but I think also brought the best out of me. So being here for the 3 years, learning, meeting new people, being around all the guys every day, it's something that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Y'all fielded the ball so well last year. What impact did the relationship with Derek and Chris bring to that, and how has that sort of impacted this transition with the outfield shakeup?
Yeah, I mean, they're awesome people. First and foremost, they're great athletes, better people. And so being able to have the pleasure of sharing the outfield with them every day is something that I tried to not take for granted, even though we're out there every day together. And just even throughout practice, I mean, running around the outfield with those guys is something super fun. We had the majority of last year all together. So having that relationship, building confidence in each other, and just going back out there and doing it again is something that I'm really looking forward to.
Back here, you talked about the leadership role, and you're one of the few that were here for the 2024 season and also 2025, being through, you know, the highest of highs and lowest of lows, you know, so to speak. So how does experiencing both of those seasons kind of help prepare you all to defend a national title?
Yeah, the good thing about going through the rough part of 2024 is that now we know how to prevent it. And that's something that the players and the coaching staff together have aligned a way to kind of prevent that from happening. And it's just by taking measures beforehand. It's eliminating complacency. I heard Monster talking about that. Holding each other accountable, I think, was something that he also spoke on. And it's just honoring the standard. I mean, you look around, we're in not many places in college baseball have a room called the Champions Club. And that's for a reason. I mean, LSU is the golden standard of college baseball, and it's not just because of the winning history, it's because of how everyone handles their business every day. And that's something that last year we were able to do really well and that we're able to learn from this year and just keep pushing forward, keep holding that standard.
Just the same question I asked Steven. Like, what do you see in this team that, you know, you already like?
Yeah, I think Steve touched on it a little bit. There's a lot of versatility on this team, but something that really impresses me is the character of the guys. I mean, obviously you're at LSU, you have Coach Johnson, who's the best recruiter in the world, Coach Jordan, Coach Simpson running around getting all the best players. It's the character that each of these guys bring in. It's like I said, it's honoring the standard of LSU baseball. These guys, as good of players as they are, you wouldn't want better people representing this team. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, knowing that I get to share the locker room with them every day. Just because being here, being at LSU, being at a big college town like this, it can be easy to get distracted, get your mind separated from the goal. But we haven't had that problem. It's a lot of guys that are willing to come in and do whatever it takes every single day.
Looks like you spent a lot of time in the weight room this off season. Legs looking big. Can you share your leg routine with John Eads?
I need to learn from him. I mean, that dude's the man right there.
All right, follow that up. To the point of being the defending champs, like, I know this is LSU, but when you're the champs, everywhere you go, there's a target on your back, right? Like, how much maybe has that been discussed, and how much do you embrace that role?
Yeah, I spoke about this at the banquet last week, and we're very in a fortunate spot to be able to have a target on our back. But the way that we look at it is just about turning that target around, and it's attacking everyone else. We called it working like number two and acting like number one. So it's the work that we put in behind closed doors is something that everyone should be proud of and something that we take a lot of pride in. But it's also showing up to an opposing stadium, and it's when we walk through that gate, you know that LSU's coming. Like, at the end of the day, like, we're going to show you why we have a target on our back.
Just wondering, 6 months in, if you have a good Zach York story. He seems to be one of the bigger personalities on the team since arriving here. Is there anything that comes to mind there?
I mean, you're asking me to find a needle in a haystack with that one. I mean, that dude's a character. He does something different every day that we love. I mean, we love having him around. He's awesome for our team. Like I say, he's one of the guys that, as good of a ball player as he is, he's an even better person. Super fun to be around, and could be the next Creole Bambino.
It's early in the season, obviously, and you just sort of mentioned accountability is one of those things that's sort of a key for you guys this season. Do you have an example of, do you already have like an example of, you know, trying to hold each other accountable as you guys try to repeat again, win 3 titles in 4 years? Like, do you have an example of that accountability at work?
Yeah, I can't really pinpoint one off the top of my head, which I think is a good thing for our team, like I said, because we have such a good character. But at the end of the day, it's everybody holding each other accountable in the weight room. It's not necessarily like picking someone up and slamming them against a locker, but it's like we have guys that are bringing the most out of everybody every day, which is something that's really fun to be around, something fun to be a part of. And with the guys that we have, like I said, there's no need to try to, like I said, beat someone's head against the locker. Like, we have a lot of good guys that are doing things the right way, and everyone's holding themselves accountable, so it makes it easier for the rest of us.
Hey, Jake, I know you were close with Josh Pearson and Jared Jones and certainly many others on the team last year. When you guys go through adversity this year, you know, before y'all would look to them, I'm sure, in some respects, but obviously they're not here anymore, so now people will look to you and some of the other older players in this team. What did you learn from them that you can use when you guys face that adversity this year?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Jared and Josh are two of my favorite people in the world. Like, those are guys that I'm talking to every single day, even still today. And a lot of things that I learned from them is just how to separate the good from the bad. So it's just, they gave me a real insight on perspective being here. I remember at the end of my freshman year, obviously it didn't end the way that we wanted it to. Bouncing back, I mean, those are two guys that I was on the phone with often, two guys that were always there for me that I could talk to. So it's just, they learned to give me true perspective, where things are going to go rough during the season. We're not going to win every game, although we will be prepared to do so. But it's just knowing where you're at, looking around you, trusting the guys by your side, and it's even being in a leadership role as I am right now, I'm no different than everybody else on the team. Like, I'm going to go to them just as much as they're going to go to me. And that's what separates a winning culture apart from teams that maybe guys are scared to go to the top guy and ask them or hold them accountable or stuff like that. So we have a open, close group of people that we can all go to each other when things get rough.
Jake, you said you've been wanting to come here since you were a little kid, and now with that love that you get from the student section every night in right field, how does that make the experience for you?
Yeah, it's fun. I wouldn't trade that for the world. Like I said, I love those guys. They come out every single game. They're flooding right field. They're making it fun for me, making it awful for the other guy. So it's real fun to go out there. It helps me stay loose, honestly, because I'm able to just go out there, chat it up with them in between plays, and so it's keeping my mind in a good spot. But it does suck sometimes on the road. You know, some teams that we play against have good right field students too, but I wouldn't trade ours for anything.
Personal areas of improvement or focus for you at the plate and in the field? What's your, I want to get better at this year?
Yeah, I think an obvious one would be the left-handed pitching, and I feel like I've taken massive stride of that so far, just all the work that me and Coach Johnson and Chief have put in on that, and it's starting to show. So far this spring, I feel like I'm seeing them well.
What was Jay's message to the team for the first team meeting of the year in terms of all the things that we've kind of talked about? What examples has he used to sort of drive home the points that we've been talking about a little bit in that meeting?
Yeah, the main focus was being all in on now, and what that means is not just all in on this year or reaching a national championship this year. It's all in on whatever you have to do right now. And for us, that could be taking early swings in the cages. It could be putting your uniform on the right way, like just little things where you're completely present, you're super focused, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to execute the job at hand. That could be something as simple as getting a ball in dirt read, advancing to second so you can get in scoring position for a guy that can get a hit with 2 outs. Just everything that we're focusing towards is being focused on right now. Whatever you can do. It's not getting too far ahead. It's not worrying about the past success, although we should enjoy that for the rest of our lives. It's just being completely focused, completely bought into right now.
How have you seen Casan Evans grow, and what do you feel like his potential is when it comes to LSU?
Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, he came in as a freshman last fall, and I'm fortunate enough. He's my roommate. We have a really good relationship. We're hanging out every day. So I've been able to see him grow as a person and as a player, and really glad to call him one of my friends. I mean, the ball player, like I said, he's another one of those guys where as good of a ball player as he is, he's a better person. But the sky's the absolute limit, and I would even say he could go further than that. I mean, the dude's got all the talent in the world. Y'all saw that last year. Struck out 9 in a row against Little Rock in the postseason, the biggest game that we had at that point. And, yeah, sky's the limit. He'll go as far as he wants to. And that's a huge compliment to him, just being where he's at, being one of the guys for us. I'm very excited to see what he does this year.
Jake, how would you describe your at-bats against Cooper Moore so far? And what's your vantage point of just his stuff and what he can bring to potentially the starting rotation here?
Yeah, we've been kind of back and forth. I've got him a few times. He's gotten me a few times, which I think is the way that it goes at a level like this. I mean, he's obviously a tremendous talent, super good player, and really glad that we were able to get him out of the portal and keep him from going in the draft. That was huge for us. He's he's going to win a lot of ball games for us. I mean, he can sink it, he throws strikes, mixes it with different pitches. He's a real good guy to have on our team.
What kind of growth have you seen out of Derek, I guess, over the last couple of years? What do you expect for him here in center?
Yeah, kind of the same thing that I said about Casan. He has all the talent in the world, and the sky's the absolute limit. I mean, he put a real focus on getting stronger this offseason, and I don't know if y'all saw him when he walked in here, but the kid's gotten big. And so we're really excited to see the power production go up for him, as well as just being the hitter that we all know he is. I mean, the dude can just flat out rake. So having him out there, having him in center field is going to be new for me just because I'm used to Stanfield out there, but we've been going all fall and all spring so far at it, and I mean, he's taken up the mantle. The dude's an absolute beast, and I'm excited to play with him another year. Sorry? I don't know. I mean, hopefully Jared's dad will still be at a lot of games. I know he loves LSU baseball. I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger fan of LSU baseball in the world than George Jones, but him and my dad are really close, just kind of how me and Bear were, so I guess we're going through that together. Thank you.
All right, our final player here at the podium will be Kase Evans, sophomore pitcher. Cason, of course, a freshman All-American last year. So Kase will take your questions.
Obviously expecting an expanded role next year. What is the work? Could you kind of expand on what you, Nate, Jay have done to kind of prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, we put in the same work we did last year. It's just the preparation, getting ready for the season. So like right now, hopefully wanting to be in the starter role. So we're trying to extend my pitches, my pitch count, all that getting in later into the game, and just seeing how I handle, going through the lineup 2 or 3 times. So that's the main thing right now.
What did you learn from last year? You come in as a true freshman and shine in a lot of times. What did you learn from last year that you will make you better this year fighting for the rotation spot?
Yeah, so I learned a lot from Cade Anderson. Me and him got really close throughout the season, just looking at how he went about his work, what he did to prepare for the games, knowing that he was the Friday night starter and that was the role I wanted to be in this year or next year. So I watched him really closely, and it's just preparing myself to do anything and everything, because I know it's not going to be an easy task. So just putting in the work in the weight room, putting the work off the field, taking care of my body, eating right, sleeping the right amount, all of that. So that plays a big part in becoming what I want to be. So
you were obviously a huge piece in closing a lot of these games last year. I'm curious as to those high-pressure stakes, those high-pressure situations that you were in a lot last year, how that maybe helped you in kind of preparing for this new role as a starter and getting the team off on the right start, that kind of thing. Just talk about that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, being in those roles kind of helped me, deal with the nerves, because I tell a lot of people that I was more nervous on opening day when I came in after Cade than I was in the College World Series. But it's going to help me deal with the nerves if I'm a starter, and then also just being able to get my body ready for the starts or for whatever coach needs me to do is the biggest thing. So it's going to be exciting to see what the season has to hold for us, but we're not sure yet.
Cason, in terms of your arsenal, what have you been trying to refine or even add this offseason and heading into this year probably as a starter?
Yeah, so we're just trying to fastball command's the biggest thing. 2 days ago I pitched and it wasn't the best. I didn't have the best outing, but if I had fastball command, every pitcher that's what they want. So that's what we're working on, and then I'm also trying to add a curveball. I added it in the College World Series last year, so we're just trying to make it better, throw for more strikes, and then it could also be a put-away pitch in the season.
Hey, Cason, can you tell me about your relationship with Cade and how both y'all from the Houston area, both Houston high school legends, how y'all have been bonding off the field, but now especially as a battery mate?
Yeah, so me and Cade played against each other for, as long as I can remember, just battling against each other. And didn't really know him that well until I got to like high school, and we started seeing each other at big tournaments. And then I knew he was coming here, so it kind of helped my decision for me. And then when we got here, we just clicked because I knew he was going to be my catcher either this year or next year. So I knew I'd have to make good friends with him. We are really close, and I think it's just going to help us that much more just because we think the same on and off the field. You know, we're trying to do the right things off the field, and then on the field, it's just let's go compete, let's go get after somebody, and let's go win a ball game.
Just curious, did you go off anywhere this summer? You talked about working on a couple different things. I remember talking to Paul and Kate. They both, went and saw a specialist. I think Paul went to Florida to work with somebody, or Arizona. Did you do anything like that this offseason?
I didn't. I stayed at home. My main focus was to gain muscle in time for the fall, so that was my main focus.
And then you spoke about the idea of mentally preparing yourself for a start. You can't replicate that really, no matter what you do, whether it's inter squads or whatever. You're not going to have that nervous energy and excitement, I guess, before a real start. So how do you go about that process, and is it something that you can only live through? I'm talking about like the waking up in the morning and the preparation of the meals, the food, the sleep, the rest, all that stuff.
Yeah, I go through the same routine every time I pitch, even when I was closing last year. So, I mean, it's just wake up in the morning, get at least 8 hours of sleep. That's my main goal. And then have a healthy breakfast, healthy lunch, come to the field. And then I go through a routine before I start throwing, just stretches, some mental game stuff. So I just try to keep it all the same. And, yeah, you're correct. It's not the same as pitching in a scrimmage as starting in an actual game. But I still treat it like the same. It helps, yes.
As a defending national champs, obviously you'll have a target on your back with anybody that you face. How much maybe has that been discussed, and how much does this group embrace, like, kind of what happens when LSU walks into whatever door?
Yeah, so this year we're thinking about it as a new year. Coach Johnson says we're putting the celebration on pause for about 6 months to go throughout the season and hopefully get another one. So we're just, like Jake said in his interview, we're all in on now. We're just focusing on the task at hand, doing what we need to do to be the best team possible. So we're not worried about defending the title because, I mean, no one can really take it away from us. It's kind of, so we're just chasing another one. That's the main thing.
Kason, could you talk about how you feel you've been embraced by the strong LSU fan base after just one season?
Yeah, I mean, the LSU fan base is the best fan base out there for sure. I mean, in Omaha, first game against Arkansas, I mean, it was 50-50 on who had more fans, but you could just feel the fans that they were into the game, and it's like nowhere else. I mean, you travel to all these places, and yeah, they might have a lot of fans, but they're not into it like the LSU fans are here. The LSU fans know your stats. They know you as a person. I mean, I even had one tell me my major, and it was kind of weird, but they like to get to know the players, and they're all in on the players, and they just want to root for you, and they want you to win.
Kason, what's your assessment of Cooper Moore so far? What's he added to the bullpen, and what's something that you may have learned from him so far in the short time that he's been with you guys?
Yeah, Cooper Moore is a great player and a great person. I mean, he's going to help us out a lot this year. You know, he's a strike thrower. He's probably 92, 94. Sinker, curveball. I think he has like 6 different pitches. So he brings a lot to the table, and he's going to do really well this year. And I mean, he could be in the starter role and just help us win ball games. You know, he's a player, so he's gonna help the team with whatever they need.
Seth Dardar is someone that's competing for a spot in the infield just from being around him. What's been your first impressions of him?
I love the kid. Seth's a great kid. I mean, he's from Louisiana, so he loves LSU baseball, even though he didn't get the chance to go here out of high school. But he sleeps, breathes LSU baseball. So he's going to do everything he can to get in that starting role, and it's going to be a grind just like every other position is. But I believe he has a chance to get it. All right. Thank you.